This tutorial will present information about the anatomy and basic functions of the 10 facial muscles involved in speech and swallowing. You can follow along with your Atlas of Anatomy on pages 462 and 463, as well as pages 466 and 467. Let's begin by introducing the major functions of the facial muscles and their use in speech production. It may help to know why you are learning about the details of these muscles as you go. The muscles of the face, especially the lips and cheeks, are part of the articulation and resonance systems of speech production. Try this. Say ooh and really exaggerate the movement. Notice how your lips will round and protrude out? Do you also feel your cheeks push inward a little bit? Now say ee and exaggerate the movement. Do you notice your lips retract back and that your cheeks are more relaxed? What happens to the muscles of your face as you say Betty Boop? Notice that as you protrude and round your lips, that the shape of the oral cavity changes. This is part of the filter for how we shape sounds in the vocal tract. The muscles of the face are also involved during non-speech tasks that are important to speech-language pathologists. Facial expression is a type of nonverbal communication that is displayed through various and subtle manipulations of the facial muscles. In terms of swallowing, the facial muscles provide important functions to assist with chewing. How do you use your cheek muscles when you chew? Avoiding drooling, clearing food from a utensil such as a spoon, and sucking from a straw. How do you use your lips and your cheeks when sucking from a straw? Thirdly, the muscles of the face are also relevant to romance during such gestures as kissing. Think of the impact on relationships for a person who has facial paralysis. Here are some definitions to help you with the etymology to understand the names of the facial muscles. Listen along as I say each word as well. Oris, labii, anguli, oris, levator, depressor, orbicularis, mental. Please take a moment to look at your notes outline handout for the table of facial muscles. Note that each of these 10 facial muscles you need to know are innervated by the facial nerve, also known as cranial nerve 7. Note also that the table of muscles is organized by the muscle action, shown in gray. So let's get learning. The orbicularis oris muscle is a round sphincter muscle that makes up part of both the upper and lower lips. This muscle acts like a drawstring on a coin purse to round, protrude, and compress the lips. Feel this lip rounding as you say the sounds oo, o, wa, or Note that the orbicularis oris is deep to some of the muscles of the lower lip. In the anterior image on page 462, the lower lip muscles have been cut away on the right side of the face in order to show the orbicularis oris muscle. Note that in the lateral view on page 463 that you cannot see orbicularis oris under the superficial muscles of the lower lip. Risorius comes from the Latin word meaning to smile. The risorius muscle is a superficial facial muscle that will retract the corner of the lips posteriorly. Feel the risorius muscle contract and pull your lips backward as you smile or say the sound E or A. Note that since risorius is a superficial muscle, it has been cut away on the right half of the face in the anterior view of the face on page 462. The zygomatic muscles get their name from their origin on the zygomatic facial bone. Note that there are two parts of the zygomatic muscles, both a zygomatic major and a zygomatic minor. You will not have to distinguish between the two, but should be able to recognize them as a whole unit, which we will refer to as the zygomatic muscles. Note that the zygomatic muscles originate from the zygomatic bone, which you will recall is lateral to the maxilla bone. Smile and show some teeth to feel the action of the zygomatic muscles. The zygomatic muscles are also superficial muscles, so note how they have been cut away on the right half of the face in the anterior view of the face on page 462. Next, note that there are 3 sets of muscles to elevate or raise the upper lip. Levator labii superioris is a muscle located just under the eye that will do just what its name says. The levator labii superioris muscle originates from the maxilla bone. Infraorbital means just below the orbit or eye sockets. This is a somewhat deeper muscle. Note that you cannot see the full muscle, meaning both the origin and insertion, on the figures on page 462 or 3. It hides in a little triangle between other muscles. When you draw this muscle, make sure you show the whole muscle with both its origin and insertion, such as what is shown in yellow in this schematic image. The levator labii superioris aliquae nasi has the longest name of any muscle in any animal. Similar to its counterpart that you just learned, this muscle will also raise the upper lip. Note that the name derives from the location of this muscle along the sides of the nose. Aliquae means wings and nasi means nose, so this is a muscle that goes around the wings or sides of the nose. This muscle is the muscle you'd use to snarl, like Elvis's signature smile. And don't worry, you won't be asked to spell this one. The third lip elevator is the levator anguli oris. The difference here is that this muscle inserts into the corner of the mouth, anguli oris, rather than directly onto the upper lip. Note that you cannot clearly see this muscle on either of the images on page 462 or 3. This muscle begins on the maxilla, but inferiorly to the origin of levator labii superioris. You can see this on the right half of the face on page 462. Note that this muscle makes an angle downward to the corner of the mouth. The best way to draw this muscle is on an anterior view, but be sure that you do not hide its origin by superimposing the levator labii superioris or zygomatic muscles on the same image. Okay, so those were the three muscles to raise the upper lip. Now let's learn about the two muscles involved in lowering or depressing the lower lip. Depressor labii inferioris is a muscle located on the lower jaw that does just what its name suggests. This muscle originates from the mandible bone, but note that its origin is deep to another muscle, such that you cannot appreciate the whole muscle on page 462. You can see this muscle in the lateral view on page 463. The second muscle that will depress the lower lip, specifically the corners of the mouth, is the depressor anguli oris muscle. This muscle also begins on the mandible. Note that it is superficial to depressor labii inferioris, and that this muscle inserts into the corner of the mouth. The mentalis muscle is named for its insertion near the chin. This is an interesting muscle. Note that its origin is on the mandible bone just underneath the lip. Mentalis courses downward and inserts into the skin of the chin. When this muscle contracts, it will raise the skin of the chin, which will cause the lower lip to move up and protrude out. Note that if you stop your lower lip from protruding out by compressing your lips, you will instead cause your chin to wrinkle. When you make a pouting face, you should feel both the mentalis muscle protruding your lower lip and the depressor anguli oris pulling the corners of your mouth down and out as you pout. The last of the facial muscles you will need to learn is the buccinator. This muscle is a deep muscle of your cheeks. You should also check out figure 36.29 in the atlas for another view of the origins. This muscle originates posteriorly along three borders: a ligament that helps hold the jaw together, the maxilla of the upper jaw, and the mandible of the lower jaw. The muscle fibers course anteriorly to insert into the corners of the mouth. When this muscle contracts, it will compress the cheeks inward. Dizzy Gillespie was able to gain exquisite control over the buccinator muscles to get his signature cheek motion when playing the trumpet. You will have felt your buccinator muscles working overtime if you have ever tried to blow up a small balloon and felt sore cheeks when you were done. In summary, we discussed 10 facial muscles. Look for some patterns among these muscles in your table. Remember that each of these muscles is innervated or supplied by the 7th cranial nerve, also known as the facial nerve. Facial muscles, facial nerve. It's not a bad idea to draw these muscles now to help you learn them.